Hi everybody, this is Greg with the Dice Must Flow, and today we're going to start a video that, well, it took me almost a whole week and a half to be putting together and working on. And that is the construction or building of the model, the Martian Overseer. And I got the bad boy right here completed, and he, like I said, looks pretty huge, looks pretty awesome, and we'll be going through everything that needed to be done to get him to this stage. And I really wasn't planning on doing a video until I started putting together the guy and realized how much work it was. So I really just started with a little bit of a video after I had done some of the work, and then realized it should turn into a full thing. And so that's what we've done. So let's go ahead and take a look at the building of the Martian Overseer. So tonight I started working on the All Quiet on the Martian Front Overseer tripod. And you can see I actually had to get this Dremel and cutter tool. I'm just going to go through it a little bit. There's quite a large block of resin that was attached here, and this piece wouldn't go into there with that block. And likewise on this piece there was another large block back here. And then furthermore, as you see up here, I had to do some cutting because, see if I can get this here, this piece wouldn't close up here together. Kind of hard to do one-handed, but yeah, there you go. And you can see where that front piece that was that lip hanging down, I had to trim this piece that was here out of there to let this get down. And I'm still not happy with it. I'm gonna have to get the sander tool, I think, and sand some of it down to see, you can see how it is not meeting smoothly back there. So yeah, this is step one of building the Overseer. It's apparently not a kit that is for the faint of heart. You may want to have to consider these things when you're ordering this. Hey everybody, in a minute I'm going to be starting to sand and cut on this resin, and I did want to make a quick little note that everything I've read said resin dust is potentially bad for your lungs if you have asthma and things. And so I wanted to show you I'm wearing a mask, and I wanted you guys to know that when you're doing something like this, you ought to be trying to wear a mask and prevent any breathing in of the dust. And so we'll have this on while we're cutting, and we're going to go ahead and start working on the Dremel and the Martian. I'm going to work on sanding a little bit of this back here and trying to get that to meet and seal up. So I do have a rotary with a sander on it. Throws a lot of sand. It's better. And I'm gonna, so you can, I don't know if you can see here, but it's like kind of rough. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and smooth this edge here. Okay, so you can see that, and that's pretty much the way it's going to be. I think it's just going to take a lot of green stuff work and then sanding once I get that done. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this and glue it and green stuff it, and I'll show you the next steps when we get that done. Okay, I got the legs out for the Overseer, and you can see there's I don't know if there was a bad mold or extra pieces here, and a flashing, I guess is what it's called, but it is pretty thick in some of these spots. So I'm going to try and use a knife to clean it off, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to use the Dremel saw. And I'm over on my workbench because it is kind of a show this. kind of a heavy cut that I'm going to have to do, and I didn't want to go through my little mat upstairs. Well, as you can see, there's all of these that have to be done. I don't need to have you guys watch me do all of that. So I'm going to do that, or I'm going to put the Dremel drill back on and go along and clip these off. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be back. Okay, I see my battery thing's blinking. I did want to try, I got the drill on. I wanted to try and show you guys doing a little bit of that. Okay, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and finish this all off and be back. Okay, I've used the saw to cut off the most of the flashing, or my knife, and I'm going to use the little sander here on the Dremel to try and smooth up a little bit of these edges. We had a mold. Same over here. I'm just going to try and clean this up. Alright, I think you guys got the idea. I got one more to do. I don't think you need to watch that. And so I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and we'll be back. Okay, you can see I'm back. I'm back at the normal bench, and I'm going to try and put the Martian head together. It's going to go on here like this. Now I went ahead and I'm going to make up some two-part epoxy. I'm going to use the two-part epoxy as well as the super glue, because I just think that it's going to really require well, something a little stronger than the super glue, or more permanent, because the gaps are so big, at least for right now. So I'm just going to put and alternate the two-part epoxy. It's going to go in there. And so I'm just going to put slabs like that on here, so hopefully it'll find something to grab onto there. And then I'm going to use my super glue to alternate. And this is a edge there that touches. Okay, so now wish me luck. I'll try and get this sucker together. See a little bit of extra super glue, epoxy's coming off. And I think that's basically it, how it's going to sit. And you can see there's gaps there. Hopefully some of the epoxy and everything, and the glue will hold. So there we go. We're going to let this sucker dry, and then see about putting some green stuff in to fill these gaps. Probably going to have to clamp this. So one advantage with working with the bigger pieces, some of my woodworking tools can go ahead and use it. So basically I got this quick grip clamp clamped onto here, and this guy will hold this thing until this epoxy sets. And then I'm going to be back and we'll talk about the next steps. Okay, we've got the Martian head here kind of put together, and it actually went together a little better. The resin's actually filled in with the two-part epoxy, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of green stuffing to do. Looking at the bottom here, though, you can see that's pretty rough, and this is going to go on. This is going to go on this piece, and I went ahead and sanded with this like that on just a regular piece of sandpaper to smooth this out and make it level. And I'm going to do that here on this Martian as well. Piece of rough grit sandpaper I have. Okay, that's pretty smooth, pretty even, level. I'm going to take the sandpaper and kind of hit some of these rough spots up here. Just kind of help it out a little bit. So our end goal is going to be to take this guy and glue him on there like that and have it be level and balanced. We'll flip it around and glue it on there. I might have to use a clamp again, and then we'll start with the legs. So that's it for this step. I'm going to go ahead and probably use epoxy again, get that sucker glued on there, and we'll move on from there. Okay, I got the epoxy. I went ahead and mixed it up and put it on. I started putting it on and realized I need to get it a little thick because there was kind of a gap in here. And the thing I wanted to go ahead and record here was that you got to think about where this is going to go on here. So your legs are going to come out of these center pieces, the bigger, thicker center pieces, and the two front tentacles are going to go here. So you want these lined up directly, well, you know, wherever you want, but basically you're going to want those two lined up directly to the front, so your legs can come out to the side and then one to the back. So we've got this sitting on here like this. The two tentacles coming out to the front, and then the legs will be going here. So we're going to clamp this guy up, let it sit, and let that resin dry. Alright, we got the main body piece glued on. I think the last time I spoke I said that I was going to let the resin dry. Obviously I meant the epoxy. So I've got the epoxy on there, and now I'm going to go about trying to throw some green stuff into some of these gaps here. So we're just going to get a little bit of the green stuff that I have here. Mix up the blue and the yellow to make the green. Now I have liquid green stuff too, but I don't think it. I think these gaps are too big for that. So I'm just trying to mix this up. I don't know how much I'm going to need. I don't think I'm going to need a whole lot because the epoxy actually filled a lot of the gaps. Alright, you can see like right here I have a gap. I'm just going to push this in here. Try and fill that gap. There it is. I have a little spatula tool that I use for this too. Scrape that off. So there you go, one gap filled, a few more to go. I don't think you guys need to to watch me do all of these. So we'll just continue on and be back after it's complete. Okay, I've got the green stuff all put on, smoothing out these lines here, filling in that gap, these gaps all along here. The gap in back, I used a little bit of liquid green stuff to try and get it to smooth. And I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to have to take a little bit of sandpaper to clean that all up a little bit. And then we'll be back, and hopefully soon we'll be ready to put the legs on. Okay, we got the guy sanded. You can see I got some dust on it I need to clean off, but basically went ahead and sanded this smooth here and all these edges a little smoother, rounded that corner off so that all of it lined up real nice. And so now I'm ready to put the legs on. Okay, we got the leg. I got some epoxy made up, and my plan here is to put this leg on and one at a time. So we got the two front tentacles are going here, the legs go in the larger things, and my plan is to try and epoxy up here and on these edges here, hit some super glue to try and hold it and support it. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm just gonna, on the edges here, put the super glue first. Take the epoxy and I'm going to put it in the back here and a little bit on these sides. And then try and get this to go in here and hope this works. I'm just trying to get it. I don't know if we can see that there where it's. Oops. Came close. Okay, try number 2, here we go. I'm going to try and use a little bit of a accelerant here on the leg just to get that super glue to hold the leg and then give that epoxy a chance to dry. So there we go, we got one leg, and then hopefully that epoxy will dry, make it hold real solid, and we can come back and get the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 2 legs just like this, and we'll be back. Okay, we're back, and he's all glued. As you can see here, we've got him put together, and like I said, I used a little bit of super glue to hit the edge where he started, and then have 2-part epoxy, and he's standing up okay. And so that's the basic Martian. Next we have to work on his tentacles, and each of those is 3 pieces, it looks like, and then there are the little claws that go at the very end. And so we have to clean the flashing off of these. Try and do that with a little pocket knife, X-Acto knife here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning all these up. I'm sure you guys don't need to watch it all. So we'll be back when it's when I've got them all the flashing trimmed off. Alright, we're back after cutting the flashing, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a warning because I ran into some problems. I might see if I can get some replacement parts from Ironclad, but the little claws that go at the end of these tentacles, here's 3 of them that I managed to cut off, but when I was cutting off the flashing, they just broke at the joints on some of these. So you can see here that this should be one piece, and this should be one piece, and this should be one piece. And I mean, just trying to trim them up a little bit with the knife, they just sort of snapped. I might try and glue them here and go from there, or see if I can get replacement pieces. But if you're messing with these guys or trying to do with these pieces, just be really careful, because even though I was careful, I ended up screwing them up. So you may want to keep that in mind when doing that. I'm going to go ahead and try and glue them together. We'll see if that will work. And we're back. Got these guys put together here, the little pieces. Got to get one more little piece actually put on there. But we're going to go ahead and start with the next section, which is to go ahead and get the main tentacles built. And for that, these are going to go in here. And they essentially go like that. And then a tentacle piece goes on them like that. And I can see that that needs a little more cleaning up. Well, I'm going to have to surface glue it because I just can't get it clean. So we're just going to put one of these together like this and let that dry. Then we're going to do the same for the other one. Then I'm going to let that sit a little bit before messing with the next one. So we'll be back. Okay, now I've got going to try and put this surface mount on. So I'm going to basically have it something like that. So I'm going to try and just go straight on with it, and hopefully that surface mount will hold. Now if this doesn't hold, I might have to take and try and drill a small hole in here and put a little pin in, but we'll see. And then we're going to be doing the same thing on the other one. So again, I'll hold it up there, glue it, and make sure that it's kind of looking about right too. This is going to be difficult. I'm sure you guys don't need to watch glue dry here. Okay, now that we've got these guys dried, we're going to have to put these little nails or claws or whatever on each of these. This looks like it's going to be quite a challenge. We've got 3 for each arm. And just kind of look like they almost surface mount. There's probably a spot where it's supposed to go. But they don't meet up quite right. You can see there's a little hole here on this one. This is going to be probably the easiest one. You see that little hole that went in. There's a little pin here on this guy that goes into there, and it probably just goes like that. And I broke it putting it together. Okay, so it's going to go like that. I obviously didn't let the glue dry long enough on the other mount. So I'm just throwing pieces everywhere. So we're going to have that guy. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see that? Is it in the frame? So that's going to go on the, you're going to have 3 little claws go on each of these. And I might have to use some super glue, accelerant or something to hold these, and then maybe put some epoxy on it to try and get it to permanently stay, because I know the accelerant's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't think you guys need to be watching epoxy dry. So I'll be back when those are all put together. Okay, through the miracle of super glue, accelerant, zip kick, I was able to get these guys to stay together, and their claws on them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and put some 2-part epoxy and put it into all these things here and try and solidify this up, because I know that super glue accelerant is a little fragile. So, but basically these guys are going to go into here, and you know, we're going to be like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, I can see I'm going to need to mix in some epoxy here because we're just not getting a good surface tension connection. It's on one side, but the other side is kind of open, and so that's going to be weak when it actually goes ahead and dries. So you can see I got a little bit of a surface mount here, but over here there's some gap, and so I'm going to fill that with the epoxy. You can see right here that this is actually a little, this area here, I didn't realize it before, is not clean. And that's not going to be good for making a trying to glue that piece in. So I'm trying to clean that out of there. And we're going to go ahead and jam this guy in. We want his tentacle kind of up in the air. And once again, we're going to try and get that left side to stick here. Try and get straight onto the camera. Okay, how about that? So that is the Martian Overseer, and every piece done with it. Like I said, I'm going to go into these areas and put some epoxy in all these mold areas, kind of around them, strengthen it, reinforce them, because I think the super glue that I've used, especially when I've used the accelerant, is making it quite weak. But this is it, the kit for the Martian Overseer. I guess the next challenge is to go ahead and get him painted up. I do know that when it paints up, it does look pretty awesome. Okay, everybody, it's the next day, and I went ahead and did the epoxy like I mentioned in all these places, and I just wanted to show that to you. You can see as I try and get in close there, what I did is I made up the epoxy and put a paintbrush, used a paintbrush, one of the painting modeling paintbrushes, and put the epoxy on that way and kind of painted it on to all those joints so it will hold and keep from breaking out. So that's it. That's the final step of our building the Martian Overseer, and I wanted to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.